You brought up Bob Dole at the beginning. We're going to have our own sort of tribute to him later in the show. But I'm curious of this, Senator. Bob Dole conceded the election in 1996. The last president has not. What could the former president learn from Bob Dole?
Well, listen, I think that this is an issue of election integrity, and I think that's what's really important to Americans across the nation. We value the ballot and the ballot booth. We want election integrity. There's a lot of controversy out there, and I'm focused right now on making it easier to vote and harder to cheat. I think that's the focus right now.
Well, I want to actually, Bob Dole, one of the last interviews he gave was in July to USA Today. He actually was asked about the former president, and he said this: he lost the election, and I regret that he did, but they did. He had Rudy Giuliani running all over the country claiming fraud. He never had one bit of fraud in all those lawsuits he filed and statements he made. I'm a Trumper. I'm sort of trumped out, though. Do you know, you voted, you stood with those that didn't want to certify the election. Do you regret that now, considering all the crazy cockamamie things that Mark Meadows and others were doing?
Look, I'm always going to stand up for election integrity. I want to make sure that every state obeys their own laws and obeys their own constitution, especially in a time of crisis. So that's what's at risk for me right now, is maintaining the integrity of that election. And I'm going to do everything I can going forward to make sure that those elections have even more safety valves in it, that there's higher levels of integrity. Yeah. Americans value the sanctity of that ballot booth.
Do you believe you were elected fair and square in 2020?
You know, absolutely I do. I think Kansas has some of the tightest election laws in the land. We went back and looked at that to make sure that it was a safe and fair election. So proud of our Secretary of State, so proud of our county clerks and those people that volunteer checking the IDs to make sure that every person got one vote. We're just really proud of how Kansas could do it. Other states could look and see how Kansas does it.
And do you believe that Joe Biden was elected fair and square?
You know, Joe Biden was sworn into office. I called him Mr. President since the day he was sworn in. I still remain concerned about election integrity. I think that we need to go back and look at what did the states obey their own laws? Did they obey their own constitution?
The New York Times says a bunch of senators were briefed on this supposed PowerPoint and other ideas that the former White House chief of staff was circulating. Were you briefed by some of these things before January 6th, some of these arguments about the Chinese controlling 28 states and things like that?
You know, not at all. I've heard that story. I don't know if there's any truth to that at all. No, I haven't.
All right. Senator Roger Marshall, Republican from Kansas, appreciate you coming on and sharing your perspective with us, sir.